Hello, it's Charles Cherney, Realtor in Cambridge, and today I would like to explore with you West Cambridge. This is perhaps the most famous neighborhood in Cambridge, known by the zip code 02138. It is a large area with neighborhoods within it, and there's a lot of ground to cover. I'd like to take us through primary schools, parks, neighborhoods, and touch on the real estate as well, as I'm a realtor. West Cambridge is a relatively low-density residential neighborhood with approximately 18,000 residents, and it's located west of Harvard Square. You could say Harvard Square is part of West Cambridge, but Harvard Square really deserves its own video. It's a sort of place unto itself. So for the sake of this West Cambridge neighborhood tour, we'll think of West Cambridge as being west of Harvard Square. The northernmost border is Concord Avenue, and that runs out to Fresh Pond and Fresh Pond Reservation, which is along the western edge, if you will, of West Cambridge. Then to the south, we find our way to the southernmost border via a portion of the CX railroad line, and then the Mount Auburn Cemetery in the southwest corner. And that takes us then to, along the southern border of West Cambridge, the Charles River. The eastern border, if you will, is JFK Street that takes you from the Charles River and Memorial Drive up to Harvard Square. So this is the map, if you will, of West Cambridge. Within West Cambridge, there are a number of schools. We can begin with two Cambridge public schools housed in the same building, namely the TOBIN school, a public Montessori school serving grades PK through 5, and in the same building, the Vassal Lane Upper School serving grades 6 through 8. These two schools are in a building now under renovation and expansion at the corner of Fresh Pond Parkway, Concord Avenue, and Vassal Lane. The front entrance of the building is on Vassal Lane. This project is going to cost several $100 million, and I believe that they're projecting that the new school building serving both schools, each school with about 300 students, will open in 2024, a public school complex, soon to be bigger. There are also several leading private schools in West Cambridge. First, in Coolidge Hill on Coolidge Ave is the Shady Hill School that dates from 1915 and has approximately 500 students serving boys and girls pre-K through 8. And adjacent to it is Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols, often referred to as BB&N. The upper school campus on Jerry's Landing sits next to Shady Hill School. There are two other BB&N campuses in West Cambridge. First, the lower school campus facing Craigie Street with its grounds extending behind it and bordering on Buckingham Street, and then the middle school campus, which is located on Sparks Street. So BB&N is a strong presence as the primary private school in Cambridge or West Cambridge with 3 campuses in the neighborhood. These schools are very popular places for West Cambridge families to send their children, are a big part of the West Cambridge neighborhood. In addition to the schools, there are a number of parks, and the primary parks in West Cambridge include Fresh Pond Reservation itself and Fresh Pond. So there are parking areas at Fresh Pond Reservation, and they're for Cambridge residents, and people come to walk around or bike around Fresh Pond itself. The pathway around the pond is 2.25 miles. It's very popular with West Cambridge residents. In fact, all residents of Cambridge enjoy Fresh Pond. I enjoy walking around the pond, as do many others. It's one of the few places that you can legally walk a dog off a leash, and although I'm not a dog owner, many dog owners take advantage of this. Also, within the Fresh Pond Reservation, right along Fresh Pond, is a large green park called KINGSLEY Park. Very popular, especially in winter with sledders. It's a destination as well for dog walkers during the summer. So Fresh Pond, it almost feels like Central Park of Cambridge. It's such a popular destination, and it borders along the western edge of West Cambridge, and many West Cambridge residents will walk there and enjoy walking around the pond. In addition, as I had noted in describing the location of West Cambridge as a neighborhood, in the southern or southwestern corner is the Mount Auburn Cemetery. This is the first rural garden cemetery in the United States, and it's a U.S. national landmark. Many Boston Brahmins are buried in this 174-acre swath of land. But being a garden cemetery, it's very appealing as a place to many to take a walk. Within it, you'll find the Washington Tower that offers dramatic views of the surrounding area and the Boston skyline. There is as well along the river, Riverbend Park, defined on one end near Memorial Drive in Mount Auburn by a tot lot. And this swath of land, although it doesn't get much use, the fact that the park is there is nice. And what does get a lot of use is Memorial Drive itself, when it's converted into a park, if you will, on Sundays between the last Sunday in April and the second Sunday in November. The city closes Memorial Drive to car traffic, and it becomes a place for people to enjoy walking and riding their bicycle, and it becomes like a park. And that closure of the drive, Memorial Drive, extends all the way down to Western Avenue. So on those Sundays in season, it almost feels like you've been given back the Charles River as a pedestrian. And it's just so lovely to be down there on the edge of West Cambridge during those Sundays in season. In addition, at the corner of John F. Kennedy Street and Memorial Drive is the JFK Memorial Park. This park dates from 1985. It's a 5-acre park. It's landscaped with a fountain, and it's a lovely green space. It's hard to believe that it was the MBTA car barn until 1976. And, today it's this lush green space. It doesn't get a ton of use, not unlike Riverbend Park, but it's there, and it's a presence that just to visually take it in when you're walking or driving by is nice. And, when it's sunny and we're in season, of course, there are a certain number of people who enjoy JFK Memorial Park. It's interesting, abutting JFK Memorial Park is the Harvard Kennedy School of Government at Harvard. And it's, I guess, if you will, another school in this neighborhood, West Cambridge, where many students are enrolled in PhD or master's degree programs in public policy, public administration, and international development. And what's great about the Kennedy School of Government is even if you're not enrolled there, they're having many famous speakers come in to give talks, and they're open, generally speaking, to the public. And, there's a real energy on that corner on JFK Street with all that's happening at the Harvard Kennedy School and all of the students that are studying there. So it's a part of the West Cambridge reality. And, Harvard is not too far from West Cambridge and part and parcel of Harvard Square, and across from Harvard Square is Harvard Yard. So Harvard has a strong felt presence in West Cambridge. Its boathouses serving its crew teams are located on the Charles River. It's very common when you're on the river on Memorial Drive to see the boats going by. So Harvard is a strong felt presence in West Cambridge, and one of the reasons a neighborhood that draws so many people. Many people who live in West Cambridge either work or study at Harvard. The named neighborhoods of West Cambridge include two neighborhoods that are located below Fresh Pond Parkway, and these are Coolidge Hill and Larchwood. Coolidge Hill and Larchwood are two neighborhoods that have meandering streets. It's interesting, they have gentle curves, and you can almost feel like you can get lost in these neighborhoods made up mainly of single families. And they're the only two neighborhoods in all of Cambridge that really are off the grid in terms of how the streets flow. Coolidge Hill is bound by Jerry's Landing on one end and Coolidge Avenue on the other, and the BB&N and Shady Hill School campuses. Larchwood is bound by Concord Avenue on the northernmost edge, Fresh Pond Parkway, Brattle Street, and Aberdeen Avenue. It's very rare that homes come up for sale in either neighborhood, almost entirely made up of single families. In fact, I think that in both neighborhoods, all the homes are singles. There might be an exception or two, but largely larger single family homes define these two neighborhoods of Cambridge, Coolidge Hill and Larchwood. There's also along Concord Avenue, a neighborhood sometimes called Observatory Hill. Essentially, those side streets off Concord Avenue between Madison Street, where the Harvard Observatory is found, and Walden Street as you move out Concord Avenue towards Fresh Pond. And shops and services along Concord Avenue in Observatory Hill include high-rise bakery and cafe, which is a real port of call for West Cambridge. And I've made a video, I'll include a link in the description below, all about high-rise. Another famous cafe in West Cambridge is DARWIN'S, and it's located on Mount Auburn Street, closer to Harvard Square. And I'll include a link in the description below for a video I've made about DARWIN'S. So beyond these two neighborhoods below Fresh Pond that I've described, Coolidge Hill and Larchwood, and Observatory Hill along Concord Avenue, there is Huron Village. Huron Avenue is a main street in the heart of West Cambridge, below Concord Avenue. And so Huron Village describes the neighborhood that essentially is on either side of Huron Avenue, between around, say, Concord Avenue on one end and Fresh Pond Parkway on the other. And as Huron Avenue gently slopes around the corner, on one end you have the famous Formaggio kitchen with Hallie's Flower Garden inside next to the fishmonger, defining one end of Huron Village. And then you enter the village proper, if you will, anchored by Cambridge Trust and its clock tower and the many shops and services found in close proximity to it. Huron Village, it's a neighborhood I lived in from the late 1980s as a Harvard student, is a real classic West Cambridge neighborhood. And just this small collection of shops and services really does give it a true village vibe. And then in addition, we have the Brattle Street neighborhood, and it doesn't have a name per se, but Brattle Street in West Cambridge is the most famous street in all of Cambridge. It was known once upon a time as Tory Row. The Tories were the loyalists who supported the crown at the time of the American Revolution. And today, Brattle Street is the street with the largest homes in all of Cambridge, or the Brattle Street area, including side streets off of it. When people think of West Cambridge and they think of large single-family homes, they often think of Brattle Street, this famous street that essentially starts in Harvard Square. Brattle Street continues right into the square. And when you're on Brattle Street in the heart of Harvard Square, there are obviously shops and services and restaurants. But then as you exit Harvard Square and move west into the heart of West Cambridge, on Brattle Street, you're in a residential neighborhood made up of many famous homes. It's an extraordinary neighborhood, and it's a beautiful neighborhood to walk and a wonderful neighborhood to live on. There is a park found along Brattle Street. It's part of the Longfellow House grounds, so I guess you'd think of it as the Longfellow House and Longfellow Park. This is very close to Harvard Square. Longfellow House was Washington's headquarters at the time of the American Revolution in 1775 and 1776. It's a big, beautiful green space. The park, Longfellow Park, in addition to Longfellow Park, Longfellow House has a beautiful colonial revival garden that dates from the early 20th century, located behind the house, that's used for special events and is just a beautiful place to drop into and enjoy. Off of Mount Auburn Street in West Cambridge, there are 4 different concierge buildings that many people call home. And I have information on all of these concierge buildings on my website, cambridgerealestate.com. So first, there's 1010 Memorial Drive, which is located, the front of the building is on Mount Auburn Street, but the address is 1010 Memorial Drive. And it's located very close to where Mount Auburn Street meets Fresh Pond Parkway. And it has a view onto the river. And if you're on a high enough floor, you can see the city of Boston. It's actually a co-op, one of the few in all of Cambridge, rather than a condominium complex. Then closer to Harvard Square is 221 Mount Auburn Street, and this building is known as Riverview. It was built in the 1960s. Most all of the units in this building have views of the river, and it's a classic Cambridge building. In the heart of Harvard Square is 130 Mount Auburn Street, and that's University Green. It's a building that is very popular with underground parking. Again, it's a concierge building, gives people the luxury of walking into Harvard Square. And then at 975 Memorial Drive, part and parcel of the Charles Hotel complex in Harvard Square are the residences at the Charles. That's the fourth and final concierge building in Harvard Square, if you will, part of West Cambridge. The front of the building overlooks the JFK Park, which I discussed earlier. So it's a nice reality. If you live there, you can step out your door and be on the river, and then at the same time, you can visit the hotel and enjoy their restaurants. And there's a health club at Wellbridge there. So it's sort of the best of all possible worlds at 975 Memorial Drive. As a realtor, I've worked with many buyers and sellers in West Cambridge over the years. In addition to living in Huron Village in the late 80s, I then lived again in West Cambridge in the late 90s on Lexington Avenue off of Brattle Street. I know West Cambridge well, both as a resident and a realtor, and I thought I would share 3 homes I've listed and sold in West Cambridge to give you a little better sense of the residential reality of living here. So first, I'd like to start with the Sarah and Emma Carey house I listed and sold on Brattle Street, very close to where Brattle Street enters into Harvard Square. And this is a stick-style house built in 1881, over 5,000 square feet. 5 bedrooms plus, with gorgeous gardens both on the front and back of the house. And so it's really incredible when you're in this house or in its back garden that you're so close to Harvard Square, because you feel like you're in a place apart with the extraordinary house and gardens. It's a very special house, and it's very representative of the kind of home that you find on Brattle Street. It's a larger, beautiful home with a lovely garden and grounds. It's not the only kind of property found in West Cambridge. And so I wanted to share as well a 1-bedroom in a brick building I listed and sold on Ash Street, close to Harvard Square, and enjoying beautiful views of the Charles River from the living room. And it's just like the classic brick building, 1-bed, 1-bath residence, so lovely. Whether it's a pied-à-terre or a primary residence, it's timeless to have that view of the Charles River out the window from your home. Lastly, I thought I would choose a single family with a large back garden on Chilton Street off Concord Avenue, closer to Fresh Pond. And this is a 3-bed, 3-bath house with over 2,000 square feet that I listed and sold. And this house really represents what a lot of people imagine when they think of a house, a single family in West Cambridge. It's a part of the city where the lot sizes can be larger and people can have the luxury of a garden or a yard. See all the homes now for sale in West Cambridge on my website, cambridgerealestate.com. I hope that this general overview of the neighborhood of West Cambridge has been helpful to you as you ponder possibly moving here. It's such a wonderful neighborhood, and I know it will always be the famous neighborhood of Cambridge because of the beauty of the homes that define it. It's a wonderful place to live. I welcome the opportunity to connect with you to answer your questions if you have them about West Cambridge. I'm here to help you buy the right home and sell for the best price, be it in West Cambridge, some other neighborhood of Cambridge, or neighboring Somerville. My name is Charles Cherney. Reach out at any time and come explore our wonderful West Cambridge neighborhood.